Hello, this is Larry Slagle with another executive session of Massillon Magazine. I'm here today with Tom Ferraro and John Malbach, two lifetime Massillon residents who have taken on a Herculean task. John, why don't you tell us about what you're going to be doing for the next 4 weeks?
Well, what we're going to be doing is explaining to the community the advantages of this income tax that has been put on the ballot and will be voted on March the 15th. It's issue number 4. And our challenge is to get out and explain what the income tax is about, why we need it, and why people should vote for it.
All right. Tom, what about you? What kind of history can you give us on why the taxpayers really need to listen to what's going on and why we need this to have a better community, a better Massillon, and a better future?
Larry, one thing would be that we have not had an income tax increase in the city of Massillon since 1976. Everybody knows that the cost of living has changed significantly since that time. Everybody is aware of that. And the city has the same problems as everybody else does with the cost of goods, et cetera, paying employees, wages, things of that nature. So that's an important factor that people have to take into consideration. I know nobody likes to pay taxes. Nobody wants new taxes, that's for sure. But that's what we have to work on. There was a tax increase in 1996, I believe, by 0.3%, but that was specifically earmarked for Parks and Recreation, so none of that goes into the general fund or capital improvement. So this is the first income tax of this nature. And if I could just take a moment, I'd like to explain to everyone what we're going for with issue number 4, which is the income tax issue, if I could. We are asking for a 0.2% increase in the taxes. That will bring us from 1.8% to 2%. The 0.2% goes this way. We have 0.1% is specifically earmarked for vehicle replacement and road repair or road replacement. That will always be there, that 0.1%. We're talking about income or monies generated from that 0.1% from anywhere from 500 to 700,000 as we speak today. Could be more as the economy gets better. But that money will be used specifically for vehicle replacement and road repair.
Well,
so
now,
that will always be there.
And a lot of people need to understand, I think, that when they'll say, well, you just got these new cruisers. But those cruisers are used 24/7,
They are.
right? I mean, so it's not like a regular person might keep a car for 5 or 10 years. I mean, these cars can't be kept that long, can they, to be safe?
No, they'll get 100,000 on them in no time at all, and they're going 24/7. And they need, as a matter of fact, the police department, even though they may have had a couple new cruisers, they need them.
In dire need of them.
In dire need of more cruisers,
and
for sure.
what have happened to car prices in the last 10 years? They've skyrocketed.
Absolutely.
So what else will that, another 1/10 of that percent go to?
The other 1/10 will go into the general fund to be used in. Let me explain why that's come about. If you work in the city of Canton, for example, or other than in the city of Massillon, and you live in the city of Massillon, if in Canton, I know that for sure, you pay 2% income tax in Canton, and you also pay 1.8% tax in Massillon. So you're paying both places. If this issue 4 passes, then those people will get 100% credit on that 1.8%, and they won't be paying it anymore. So as a result, since we're not getting the income from them, we need to replenish the general fund with something, and that's where the 1/10 of 1% comes. So we're giving them a credit, but we still have to replenish that. We have to get that money somewhere. So that's why it's going into the general fund, because we're going to give a credit to those individuals.
Well, John, when this income tax passes in March, how will people benefit?
Well, first of all, the benefit will come from the standpoint of the fiscal planning that the city will be able to do, and then executing a plan that has been developed and thought out. They will also benefit from the standpoint that they will have more of a say in what Massillon could be. and not necessarily dwelling on what Massillon has been or what Massillon can only be. This will allow us to think about what we want our city to be and how we want to improve it. And the one thing that kind of feeds into this is that even though it has not been said, in black and white, but in terms of our fiscal emergency status, there's a feeling there that if we pass this income tax, that we'll be off a fiscal emergency. And what that means is that the city will be able to finance some parts of their operation. For example, in some cases, it's better to lease a piece of equipment than it is to buy it. Well, being in fiscal emergency, they look at the city of Massillon and they say, well, you're in fiscal emergency, we're not going to let you sign a lease agreement. Or in terms of financing. Now, I don't want to indicate that Massillon's going to go out and just spend, but in terms of financing, if your credit is worthy, you get a better deal. And that's for the local guy on the street as well as for the city of Massillon.
And why did you get involved in this campaign, John? I mean, this is like this is not an enviable role to play and ask people to pay more taxes.
Well, I love Massillon, and I think there's a real opportunity here for the city to move forward. I'm involved with the Chamber of Commerce and with the Massillon Development Foundation and with the Third Century Committee, and I think there's some really good things on the forefront that could happen here in Massillon. And I feel very proud to be able to work for those things. And not everybody agrees with what should happen, but that's why we have a community, that's why we have discussions, that's why we have people that volunteer, and I think it's a great place to live, and it's a great place to do business.
Right. Now, Tom, you're also a lifetime Massillon resident, right?
That's correct.
So why'd you want to get involved? I mean, there's got to be a lot of reasons to get involved in this.
Absolutely, and many of which John just mentioned, and I would echo all of his comments, but specifically for me, I would not be on this committee unless a specific amount was earmarked for the roads and vehicle replacement and road repair, that for sure. I ride around the city of Massillon all the time. The roads are in disrepair. Last year we had some significant snow, and the potholes weren't repaired till well in the summertime, and that's just unacceptable. I imagine a business coming into town checking roads like that. It's just not something good. It's bad for economic development. What about safety for our safety forces and fire and police officers responding? They have to drive on those roads too, and we need the infrastructure has to be considered here, and the road repair, and something has to be done, and at least we got to start here. It's not very much, but we had that 0.1% that we're going to earmark for that, and then other monies are available too to go along, but at least we'll have something to have an ongoing program and get this taken care of for the just safety of all the citizens of Massillon.
And you've been active yourself in not only Massillon government as a law director some years ago, your wife is the auditor.
That's correct.
Is there anyone in the know that thinks Massillon should be operating as it is on the tax income that they have, that doesn't believe that we need an increase in income tax?
I'm not aware of anyone that believes that. I mean, a tax increase is needed, and I have spoken to many former council people, and they seem to, even the ones that aren't there anymore, seem to think that that's the only really fair answer is an income tax. Now, you can have street lighting, which will bring you a minimal amount. You can tax as I mentioned before, the people that don't live in the city but work elsewhere. You can tax them. I don't think that's fair. The fairest way is an income tax, and since we haven't had one since 1976, in my opinion, this is the only way that we're going to be able to become a first-class city again.
And John, in terms of the cost to the average taxpayer, you must have some idea of what this 0.2% would mean in an increase on taxes.
Yes, for a person earning $50,000 a year, the tax would cost $8.33 a month.
Which would be $96 or $100 a year.
Yeah, a little less than $100 a year. And
And don't you know people that have had their front ends replaced for
$700.
$700? I mean,
And get your car aligned?
that's right. I mean, so, I mean, really, the first time you have your car damaged by hitting one of these potholes. In your experience in getting involved in this, have you seen any indication that there's been any true malfeasance or misfeasance in terms of the fund expenditures? I mean, a lot of times you hear that, well, we're not going to have tax increases till we're sure the government doesn't misspend our money. I mean,
well, all I can say is that the city is extensively audited every year. And actually, we have been under the watchful eye of this fiscal emergency committee. So we kind of get double watched.
Right.
And I think that is something that the citizens do not need to worry about. This people have tried, and people have,
That's right.
and things are just changing. And when you don't have increases to keep up with your expenses, you fall behind. And I was in the insurance business for 42 years, and I always tried to encourage my business customers to keep a surplus every year of 30%. In case something happens at the end of the year or something happens into the new year, they need a surplus. And we have been operating for years without any kind of surplus. And yet, and I think that's one of the things that the Fiscal Emergency Committee is pointing out to us. So I feel very positive about our city leadership, city council, the various department heads, and the mayor's office. I think they're doing as well as can be done, and I have no reservations about the need.
okay. And John, you some of this is just that some areas of tax revenue have been shut off to the city, haven't they? That we had received in the past?
Well, absolutely. We have the state of Ohio, they passed whatever law, and they eliminated the estate tax, which came to the cities, and that was a significant amount at times.
I think that amounted to about an average of $300,000 a year.
I think an average would be good, but and those are like a windfall at the end of each year. You really don't know what you're going to get. But the estate tax was eliminated by the state of Ohio, and also all the municipal grants to the city. They were all but eliminated, so you don't have that funding from the state anymore. And I think just about every city's having problems. There's an article in the Plain Dealer this morning that the Cleveland, city of Cleveland, wants a 5% or 0.5% increase in their income taxes, and that'll put them around 3% or something like that. So all the cities are experiencing fiscal difficulties, and we're no different. And that's the way it's going to be, and you have to do something. And as I said before, the income tax is probably the fairest way to do it for everyone concerned.
Tom and Larry, just in this morning's paper, the Canton Repository, the lead story, Canton, $5.1 million deficit. And that's a real challenge.
And unlike many issues, and particularly on the national level, as I recall, every time we've tried to convince the voters of the need for this, it's been a bipartisan effort. I mean, both the Republican and Democratic office holders, whether they be council people or citywide office holders, were on board and all agreed to that, weren't they?
Yes, and this city council just Monday night unanimously endorsed passage of issue 4. And I think there was one council member absent, but it was an 8-0 vote.
So we've got a situation which funds coming into the city have been stopped in some areas, like the estate tax. We also have an increase in the cost of doing things. We haven't had a tax increase for the purpose of taking care of the roadways, the police departments since 1976. So is there any real reason that a rational person wouldn't listen to their leaders on this in this matter and say, okay, we don't like it, but we have to bite the bullet? Tom, can you think of any?
I can't, Larry, and for the life of me, I would think that everybody, any rational person would be for the income tax, and I would like to sit down with anybody that would want to talk to me about any rational person, of course, and let me try to explain to them, and John would do the same thing. I know there's people out there that they are absolutely gonna say, I'm not gonna vote, for a tax increase, I'm just not gonna do it, I don't wanna talk about it. I would say that person, is irrational, because you just can't convince them one way or another. They're set, and we have those people out there, and we have to overcome that. Again, nobody likes to increase
more
the-
money.
No, absolutely not. But you gotta look at what's good for your city, and in turn, what's good for you in the long run. By having, good, safer roads, better equipped police department, better equipped fire department, you're gonna be better off, and it's gonna be well worth it for you, with this 0.2% increase.
Tommy, the other thing about this tax is that people that have a defined income, they really won't be affected by this, and by that I mean the people that are on Social Security, pension plans, and other retirement benefits. These citizens will not be impacted by the income tax.
Yeah, no taxes on those monies, at all, so.
So those folks, by voting for this, will save the damage of their car,
Yeah.
have better streets, safer, more police, safer police cars, better infrastructure at no cost to them, just for the yes vote.
Exactly. And
So-
there's a number of people out there who do not live in the city, but work in the city, and they're being taxed. They won't have a vote on that, so I don't know whether that's good, bad, or indifferent. But really, if you look at it, when you get down to it, if you're a voting citizen in Massillon, think about that. You're not paying all the tax. You got other people that are helping out, non-residents are helping out because they're employed here in the city.
And don't we all benefit from a better city, better roads, better police, better fire?
Absolutely.
I mean, the values of the property go up, more businesses move in. So even though we may have to take a financial hit that amounts to $100 a year on $50,000, it's going to have a long-term effect that's going to be much greater than that, won't it?
I would think so, 100%.
I would too.
And
Well,
you,
that's well said.
and you've both been involved in the city, and you love the city. You grew up here and start on football teams and practice law here forever. And
That's
you
right.
both agree, and have you, again, is there one office holder that you know of that has even suggested they were going to oppose this and hasn't said that there's one thing the city needs, it's more income through an income tax increase?
I've not.
Even the past 10 years, if you known anyone.
I've not experienced that, except that I would have to commend the mayor this time around. She's on board, and she is doing everything she possibly can, and I'll commend her, and I think she's probably doing way more than she probably did the last time, and I commend her for it. And there seems to be some more cooperation with council, and that's another thing. I would not have been on this committee unless I knew that the administration was on board as well as council, which they are as far as I'm concerned, and they're both out there doing that.
Well, that is great. And previous committees, in fact, I think had many council people involved in the committee, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
So
And
do you-
I think they were glad we kind of took over, because that was a strain on them. Yeah, and they have a job to do, and this is probably a job for people like John and I that have a little bit of time to
Well,
help out. But they've been very cooperative, very cooperative.
And we do currently have city council members involved on our committee.
Okay. So they're putting out their political existence in some regards by going out in favor of a tax increase, which
absolutely.
no one likes. No one likes to pay more taxes. But everyone agrees that by paying more taxes in this case, you're going to have a better city, you're going to have better roads, you're going to have better police and fire protection, and everything will improve from that. The housing, the jobs, the shopping downtown if it will improve, won't it? You had an office downtown.
Yes.
You had an office downtown.
Yes, I did, absolutely.
And would you agree that everything improves from this when it passes? Not if it passes, folks, when it passes. Correct?
Correct.
Anything else you want to add for the benefit of all of us Massillonians?
I don't think so. I would just urge anybody out there that is watching us today to, if you have a problem or you have any questions, give me a call. Is it okay to give a number out there?
Absolutely. And is there someplace they can email, or is there a
you could
Facebook page or anything?
Reach me at 330-832-5757, and there's an answering machine at all times. And my email is tferrero@sssnet.com, and Ferrero spelled Ferrero.
My phone number's 330-833-9594, and the email is jlmjr@sssnet.com.
So, folks, we have two legendary Massillon residents who've committed their lives to this city, their professions to this city, their kids have grown up in this city, and they're telling you we need this tax increase. So go out and vote for this levy. Levy? An income tax, it's not a levy.
Issue number 4.
Issue number 4.
March
Vote
15th.
yes, March 15th. Make sure you do. A better Massillon will benefit